It is actually by Shannon Drayer, who follows the Mariners for 710 Seattle, is part of the radio broadcast. She writes an article here. It's titled, let's pull it up here. Here's the Shannon Drayer article. Let's pull it up here. Drayer, what are the Mariners' options in post-Ohtani offseason market? Let's just get to the meat and potatoes of this and scroll down past the Ohtani stuff and say, and for the rest of baseball, it's time to carry on. What does carry on look like for the Seattle Mariners, and what, after an unexpected, horrific offseason turn, has become the most uncertain times this winter? This remains to be seen, but with Ohtani signing and the countdown to spring training not slowing, the market will pick up, and the Mariners will have roster holes to fill. What Mariners president of baseball operations, Jerry Dipoto, and general manager Justin Hollander have available to them in terms of budget has not been shared publicly. But Dipoto has said he does expect to have payroll above what was spent last season. How much is the key question. What we do know is that Dipoto had to pivot and clear dollars, estimated to be around $20 million, with trades in recent weeks. Is that his spending money for 2024, or will funds be added? Is he looking at $140 million or $150 million, somewhere in between, or perhaps even more? Is that number even set? The optimist, if you can find one, could point out off-season surprises can go both ways, stating that the needs are 1.5 outfielders and a middle-of-the-lineup presence, perhaps in the form of a primary DH. There are options both in free agency and the trade market. Free agents who could help the Mariners fill the roster needs include Jorge Soler, Bryce Hoskins, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., JD Martinez, or perhaps even Korean star Jung-Ho Lee. On the trade front, things could get interesting. The Twins have made Max Kepler and Jorge Polanco available. The Rays can move Randy Arozarena, Isaac Paredes, or perhaps others. Maybe Baltimore is a potential trade partner. And how about Cleveland? Could Josh Naylor be pried away? Dipoto holds a valuable trade chip in young, controllable starting pitchers. It would be an uncomfortable move to make with their current rotation depth, but in the current situation, it is worth exploring. What remains of the offseason could be a very tense time for the Seattle Mariners. Getting free agent bats to come to Seattle has been a challenge under the best of circumstances, and what is truly available in the trade is never a certainty. It is not the hand Dipoto expected to be dealt, but it is his team, a team that he spent the last 5 years building. There is a job to be finished regardless of the circumstances, and his comments to the media at the close of the MLB winter meetings last week, Dipoto was candid about the situation and resolute as ever in his belief in the team. I'd be surprised 12 months ago to stand here and have gone through some of the alterations we've made just this year, Dipoto told reporters. Quote, I'm really disappointed that we didn't make it to the postseason, disappointed that this step in our growth wasn't effective as maybe we all envisioned it would be. I still think we have a really good team with a chance to be a great team. That was the plan after all. Yep. So, Ninja, you were saying with this article, Shannon Drayer was taking some heat?
Well, people were saying she's kind of being negative with that article.
Wow.
But,
I didn't take anything from that.
What is she supposed to say? I mean, I know that you don't agree with it, but I mean,
no, I didn't. I didn't see what the big deal was. It was a pretty straightforward article.
Yeah, I find it interesting that this article can be looked at as negative, and what Ryan Divish is saying is like the gospel. They're very similar. I feel like this is a sugar-coated version of what Ryan Divish said. How about you, Hanno?
Oh, absolutely. This is just talking about basically the scenarios that Jerry Dipoto is having to face in the offseason, where the Dipoto article is going after, and I would call it going after and demand, wanting answers from Mariner ownership about what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, this to me right here, I know you like to say 710 always gets the script. This is kind of like if you had a rated R script and you had to have somebody punch it up and make it a family affair or a PG-13. We get people into the movie theaters to see it, or we can get it into the streaming vortex. We're going to get more looks and likes and optimism out of it. I feel like this is actually an optimistic piece here by Shannon Drayer.
Yeah, it's just saying, just giving different scenarios, it's just talking about what has happened, what could happen, but it doesn't give you any, it's very vague in my opinion.
It's here's who's available, which you could pull up on MLB.com, and I could do that right now. Let's see, 2023 free agents, baseball. We still have on the free agency list, and we'll get through it. We still have quite a bit of people. We'll get to that a bit later, or on part 2 of this episode. We kind of know who those players are. They're written here in the articles. We've done podcasts about these people. We've done Snell. We've talked about Cody Bellinger. But I will say, with everybody, it seems like with the fan base, when it comes to the trade to get a player, which it seems like that's going to happen, that is what the hot button is, because it just was so cut and dry that they just needed to spend money.
It'd be nice if the ownership just put out some reassuring words like, "Don't worry, we're going to spend some money. Probably not as much as you guys thought, but we're not." You know what I mean? Something come out and ease the Mariners. But silence is just like have people guessing. So everyone's like uneasy about, is it a fire sale? What's really going on?
I think out of all this, the one thing I take away is I used to kind of wonder what the hell Jerry DiPoto was doing at some points. Sometimes these really great trades, some of these really good moves, and also preaching patience. And I mean, we could have guessed this already, but now I think for the general fan, we know it's not Scott Service's fault, and it's not Jerry DiPoto's fault. I know Jerry DiPoto's been promoted to president of operations since the beginning of last season or the season before that, where he answers directly to him. So I'm sure this has gotten heated. I'm sure there has been some pretty prickly conversations, but also he hasn't stepped down from his position. I mean, all this frustration, I could see him or anybody just being like, fuck it, I'm done with this, and going somewhere that's going to spend money. I mean, previous he was in Anaheim, and as we know, they like to recklessly spend.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they, it's a bargaining standpoint where you don't want to release how much money you have to spend. We act like, we only have 20 million to spend, but really you have 60 million to spend. Well, there's some sort of advantage of not releasing that number to the public.
I just think it's a culmination of a lot. It's the rebuild, the last year not making any successful moves, the offseason, the comments, the 54%. It just, all that just comes into everything. This last trade that most people in the baseball world thought was just foolish, that, it was just a salary dump, and the Mariners got nothing in return to equal what they gave up. So I think it's just a lot of frustration and wanting to know, when is this rebuild we've been talking about for 10 years or 8 years or whatever? When's it going to happen? It's always moving the goalpost every single year, it feels like.
I think it's different this year because I think our window is here now with our pitching staff. We're going to have to sign Logan or Kirby in 1 or 2 more years, maybe Logan in 1 year. That's going to start costing money to have this quality of pitching staff. So to have this whole pitching staff intact right now, I think is our window, and we should really go after it in the next couple of years.
You're exactly right. I mean, they're going to cost money. They're going to go to arbitration every year, and Logan could be making 17 million in a couple of years here off arbitration. I was reading that's even before if he doesn't sign a contract. So yeah, the window is now to keep this core together that they preach every single freaking day and year, and then to add to that and supplement it to then have a team that just can get in the playoffs, and then anything can happen. We've seen that with what the two teams were, or yeah, I put Texas in it, even though they were leading the West most of the year, but definitely Arizona. Anything can happen once you get in there. And it's, I mean, like Divish wrote in that article, is a perfect line. The Mariners have held more All-Star games than they've been in the playoffs. I mean, it's ridiculous.
When you're talking about this is the window with these pitchers, if Felix Hernandez's career was not a cautionary tale of what you have to do with somebody to not waste these generational pitchers, which they possibly could be, you have to get them some hitting. This has been the Mariners' MO for years and years. It has not changed. You have to get hitting with the pitching that we've had. I don't know how many years going back into different eras and groups of the Mariners that it's been all about the 1-0, 2-0. If the team scores 4 runs on you, you're pretty much calling game. And they are going to waste this again if they don't act here. And also, you talk about arbitration and what they're going to get in arbitration. But by the way things are going right now, I don't even think they reach arbitration.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and then the other thing too, just to throw on it, since they expanded the playoffs too, I'm not going to say it's so much easier, but it's a lot easier to get in the playoffs now with the expanded playoffs, the extra team in there. And we can't even sniff that. It's just so maddening.